We're in a good bit for plane spotting today. Morning! Jammy buggers, going somewhere nice and warm today. Hopefully. No, we all know where they won't be going anyway. Anyway, you join me at this 140 LCR-7. We're here today to have a look at controllability, and there's a couple of batteries he wanted me to fetch down. I'll fit them. A couple of cab filters and a couple of shims to go in the hitch down at that end, just to tighten that up. And then on the way back up the road, there's a couple of jobs to call into. One of them was a job last week, but the customer has fixed it himself, but he just wants me to stick my head in the door and just look over it, make sure it's all right. And there's a 420 CVT. What's it not doing? Return to dig isn't working. So I'll come down to this one first, and then everything's all on the way back up the road. Time is about 10:30, so we'll get on. Okay, so the machine was isolated, and I thought I'll just fire it up, but battery voltage 20 volts. That is why we have two batteries. So we'll probably end up replacing the pair. It's a good idea to replace the pair, but we'll see which one's faulty. Just plane after plane, look. Honestly, I am definitely a closet plane spotter. I think it's marvellous, isn't it? How something that big go up in the sky. Right in here. Cool. So I've just checked the voltage across the isolator, because they can be prone for corrosion inside, and give you a voltage drop which makes you think that the batteries are weak, but unfortunately in this case the batteries are weak. So we'll flick these out. These are a bit of a job today, to be fair, because they're in such a small cubby hole. And then we'll check that the batteries are charging. I'm pretty sure batteries are fine once it's running. It's always worth checking. Right, there you go. As you can see, it's not a 2-minute job just changing a battery on diggers these days. There's all sorts of frames and things that need to be moved, and plugs unplugged and sec alike. So anyway, ready to lift these bad boys out now, so I'll get me something to a lifty position. There we go. So it would appear this one's the bad one, because this is only giving us 9.9 volts. Whereas this one's, I think, like 12.8. Yeah, 12.8. I'm not showing you, look. No, I'm not showing you at all, because doodads are over here. There. So you'd say that one was good and that one was bad. But it's good practice to replace them as a pair. So that one would probably go on charge and do a job. I'll not scrap them, or I'll not scrap that one anyway. But I'll probably take it back, and if the fella wants it, he can have it, because it is his. I'm not going to do anything with it that I shouldn't. I'll just mark that one up as the good one. There we go. That'll make some of you happy. Put some copper grease on the bolts going down into the frame, because they were tight to come out, and these can often be tight as well, so I've copper greased all of that. That is all good. We're going to get the machine started and running now, because we've got hydraulic testing to do. We need it all at operational temperature. We also need to turn the isolator on, don't we? So we'll get that running. We'll do the shims so that the machine's warm, and right at the end we'll spend a bit of time digging a bit of fresh air or something, see how it feels. I was just going to drop the bucket off so I could do the shims in the hitch, but I can already see that this you'll hear it more in the engine tone, because the engine's going wah, 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 wah. You might see it when I cast this dipper arm away from me. You'll hopefully see the machine giving it a bit of shaking. And when I look at the negacon pressures, they're set way too high somehow. not fully disappearing either. Look at these levers, look. That is way too jerky now. He has spoken to me about this problem, and originally we thought it was the pilot accumulator, and he's put a pilot accumulator on and it's made no difference. But I think the conversation over the phone to what had happened, basically the ignition wasn't fully on, because push button start, you've got to press it twice to turn the ignition on, so he had it on in ACC, which of course when you lift the pilot lever up the hydraulics don't settle out because you've not got your ignition on. And that was when we decided it wanted an accumulator. But anyway, yeah, we'll right. I'll chuck the bucket off. We'll do the shims and the hitch, but I'm pretty sure that negacon pressure is far too high. See that there? I'm pretty sure that wants to be more like 33 bar at high RPM. I'm sure the standby pressure is too high. Right, like I said, we'll cross that bridge in a minute. Let's chuck this bucket off. Okay, there's only a couple of rules when you're shimming up a quick hitch, or anything really. First rule is, and this is important, see how that shim isn't just quite lined up? Don't stick your fingers in there and chomp them all up, for two reasons really. I mean, these shims can be quite sharp, especially if they're very thin, and you try and put your finger in there and push it, you'll split your finger end open. Secondly is, well, it won't happen in this case, but that pin moves, then you'll shear your finger off. Simple as that. In this case I've put 3 shims in, so I've put 1 shim on this side and 2 on this side. The reason for that is it's easier just to line 1 shim up at this end when everything's all wobbling about, and you can get 2 shims in here nicely. And if we pry on here now, no play. So that's what we're looking for. Right. We shall then be able to shove that home. No hammers required because it's greased. We just need to line that up now. Same again. Don't use your fingers. Just give it a wobble around. Look, there you go. Lovely. Okay, I've made my negacon standby pressure a little lower, and it does seem to be a lot more controlled. Like I can pull that cutting edge along the floor without scooping anything up by mistake. But as with anything, when you make adjustments to controls, it's always better to get the man on the seat to sit in it and have a feel before you clear off. So the boss man's on his way up. He's gonna have a sit on and dig fresh air or whatever. I don't know what I am, and I'm allowed to dig, and I don't want to make a mess. Alright, there we go. He's away. Pair of them's had a go on it. I've made a couple of further adjustments, and result is 100% better. So that's good. Pleased with that. I've got a special pump adjustment Allen key there. Look. Yeah, I know. There's one thing when I started doing these videos that I was told: doing any adjustments like that, I'm not meant to show you how to do it. Is the top and bottom of it, so it does make for a bit of a tedious video, perhaps. But there you go. You have to know what you're doing. Somebody with an Allen key and a 13mm spanner could quite easily twiddle about in there and ruin a good machine, and then it makes the job so much more tougher for me to come and sort out. So there we go. Right, he's got 235 here, and I've got an orange beacon to fix. Got aeroplanes, got trains, rollers and diggers. What day? What time to be alive. Oh yeah, I can tell you all about that ball mag, look. Ball mag expert now. Right, that orange beacon up there. Oh, by the way, green beacons on ball mag is standard equipment. Leave it on. You listening? What do I need? Ignition keys first. Turn the ignition on. The multimeter. One orange beacon working. Do you know what I did? Turned the switch on. Green beacon works as well. But no, the decal on the switch was the wrong way around. So when you turned it on, you're actually turning it off. That makes sense. Either that, I don't know. Like, it was in the opposite. I'll tell you the story. Turned the ignition on, made sure the beacon switch was on. Went up to the plug, tested for power. No power there. Went to the fuses, checked the fuses. Fuses were okay. Popped the switch out, made sure that the switch was working. Switch is working, so I left it in the on position, went back up top, plugged it in. Beacon starts working. That is the story of what happened. Alright, you're welcome. Right, DL300 now. I'm a little later. 1:15, so it'll be 2:15 when I get up to me DL300. Yeah, I'm running a little later than I expected to be today. I could have done with being out of here by 12:30, but anyway, is what it is. Right then, we're back up north. You can tell that because it's raining, look. Well, this DL300, it's got a Doosan engine in it. Now it's had a major repair. The engine's been out of it to get the drive coupling replaced. And when they put it all back together, the throttle pedal wouldn't rev the machine up. And that turned out to be a loose connector on the ECU, so that's all sorted, that was the problem that I was originally coming here for. And then he said, oh well, you might as well just call in anyway, because it's sort of out of my area, this machine and the previous machine I've been at. So I'm not really just passing. So yeah, foot pedal works now, it revs up, but it seems to have a high idle. So I'm just going to see if my laptop will talk to it, because it could be something like a, what could it be, Al? Oh, idle pressure sensor or wiring of that sort of description. I don't know whether it sat at a lower idle before they did the torque converter drive coupling thing. But either it's not like an urgent job. The machine will still do a day's work as it is. Just be nicer if it sat at a quieter RPM when it was ticking over. Well, to be fair, it is sat at 900 RPM, so I don't know whether it should be sitting at 800 or 900. Huh, 900 seems alright. Just when you look at it on there, I suppose it is sat at 900 on there as well. It's alright, like. Well, let's see what fault codes that is. We've got a historic code for the accelerator pedal. So, yeah. Right, I've just been chatting to the fellas on the site about this machine, so everything's good. They just wanted to know, that was it, the coolant temp and the transmission oil temp on this machine doesn't work, so the gauges don't work. But I've used my laptop, the sensors are reading because my laptop can see what the temperatures are. It's just not displaying it on the dash, and when you look at the schematic, they have the same live, the same earth as the fuel level sensor and the tachometer and the speed dial, so therefore it has to be faulty dials. That's that. That's all I've popped in for. Just a flying visit. I am now 3:45 though. I am 3:45. Oh, flipping neck. I should have time to nip into this 420 CVT just to check that it is what I think it is that's stopping this return to dig working. So I'm gonna nip in and have a look at that. Yes. I've got parents' evening tonight, you see, so I need to be home for 5:30 the latest, although parents' evening's normally 5:30 turns into 6 o'clock before you get in, but anyway, that's the plan. I did nearly sort of not bother filming today because I knew there wouldn't be an awful lot that you could see, so I'm sorry if you're watching this and you're frustrated because I'm not showing you an awful lot. There's just not an awful lot to show you, if that makes sense. But I know quite a lot of you just like to see where I'm at and what I'm doing and what machines I'm looking at. So yeah, here is Lancashire. You like that? Good. I will continue then. So here's the story in this place. The shovel that I'm going to stick my head in the door and have a look at, it is due a service, and what I would like to do is have a diagnosis for this so that when I do come back and service it, I also repair it as well. Now then, I've just seen the shovel come up the hill behind here. So is it going to come from this side or this side? Or neither? Neither then. Oh no, here he is. Look. CVT. Yeah, I'll jump on the seat anyway and I'll tell you what all I'm looking for, and hopefully we'll have an answer. I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but I just want to confirm it is what it is, so I'm just having one visit down here instead of yo-yoing. We don't like yo-yoing. What it's not doing is, when we want to weigh what's in the bucket, normally we just pull the lever back and it goes ba-bling and it lifts to the height where it can weigh, which is somewhere around there, look. So it should automatically do that, but it isn't. I wonder if the return to dig's working. No, that's not working either, look. That's that one, and that is that one. And it'll be the angle sensors, I can guarantee you. Yeah, neither of them's working. Return to dig and preset heights. And I think it'll be one of these angle sensors down here. And there is a bit of build up there, isn't there? Right, we're into the service menu, monitoring, and it is... it's an analog signal input, I think. Bucket sensor, angle sensor. There you go, look, bucket sensor B. It's the bucket sensor. Bucket sensor's knackered. And I'm pretty sure we need to replace them as pairs because we do. Yeah, see, that's hardly moving. So that's the problem with it. Angle sensors. Right, we'll get a couple of angle sensors and that will do grand. 4:29 and it's an hour and 12 minutes home, so I'll be 5 minutes late. But in my experience with parents' evenings, it'll be 6 o'clock before I sit down at a little table, at a little tiny chair and talk about my children. So I am happy with that. I've got a diagnosis for that machine and that'll be all done. So we'll wind the video up. I know it's been a bit of a short video, not super interesting, especially when you compare it to the previous video that I did where we fixed stuff, but nevertheless, it is what it is. I'll see you all in the next video, which will be Thursday, and I don't know what I'm doing yet, but there is a lot of servicing to do. But tomorrow I'm up north, so we'll go and do some up north stuff. Subscribe if you haven't, like the video if you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.